You know, one of the things I really enjoy about this Longbox section is that I get to express my opinion and that I get to slow down a little bit and talk about why things feel right or wrong, not just whether I like them or not. I'm Dave Lance, and welcome to the Symbiote Signal Longbox. Because a lot of the time, when something doesn't work on screen, it's not about acting. It's not even about writing. It's about visual language. And this is something that comics have understood for a very long time. Because of my bodybuilding background, I've always had this idea in the back of my mind that one day I'd really like to cosplay Drax. And that sounds simple on paper, but it actually means getting big enough to pull it off in a way that feels authentic. And that got me thinking about something I don't hear talked about very often. And that thing is the big guy illusion. There is a big difference in being big in real life and being big in comics. Dave Bautista is a perfect example. He's enormous by human standards. And even after his health scare and downsizing, if you've seen Glass Onion, he still looks massive. That's real human mass. But characters like Venom, Juggernaut, or what I'm about to show you here, they're not just big, they are wrong on purpose, and that distinction matters. This right here is Pitt. Pitt is by far my favorite comic book character. I know I claim to have a lot of favorites, but Pitt definitely is number one. And in these Pitt comics, you can really see why Image comics were so popular back then, and why Image were definitely my favorite of all the major comics, and why I liked Image even more than Marvel and definitely more than DC. You can see from the coloring on these covers exactly why I felt that way. Pitt is a convergence point between Wolverine, the Hulk, and probably Lobo. You can definitely see some Wolverine in him and some Venom. He's basically, what if Wolverine became the Hulk? Check that out, guys. Look at those claws. Look at that face. Look at the hair. Come on now. Come on now. That is amazing. It is amazing. And of course, they had to show Pitt alongside the other big guys in Image Comics to give a good scale and idea of just how big he was. There was actually a Pitt versus Hulk comic made that was, a lot of people hate on it, but I enjoyed it. I mean, how can that go wrong? Like, seriously, I don't think it actually went wrong. It just wasn't as good as it could have been, you know? I actually have not bought that comic yet, but I'm definitely going to buy it. I mean, and you can definitely sense some Venom vibes, especially in the antagonist. I figured I'd show a couple of these since they were just hanging out around this pile. Of course, you got to show some King in Black #1. King in Black is one of the 2 omnibuses that everyone should own. And moving on with the cosmic theme, we've got some Silver Surfer This is around the 90s era. 90s to 2000, I would say. I haven't actually looked at the date. This is a good comic, though. I might have to check this one out again soon. I like the vibe. This is not a man, this is a thing, and it is monstrous. And that's intentional. Monster characters, real monster characters, follow a completely different anatomy rule set than humans do. Big hands, big feet, compressed heads, exaggerated mass, because they're not meant to feel achievable. They are meant to feel mythic. And this isn't an accident. Pitt was created by Dale Keown. Dale Keown is known for his work on The Incredible Hulk, especially in the late 80s and 90s. And honestly, that era of Hulk is still my favorite, because it was the perfect marriage of real bodybuilding anatomy and something oversized and mythic. Hulk looked powerful in a way that made sense, but he was clearly not bound by human limits. And Pitt feels like what happens when you take that philosophy and remove the restraints completely. And once you start seeing this visual language, you start noticing where things go wrong in live action. Take Juggernaut, for example. Juggernaut is not just a big guy with a helmet. Juggernaut's power comes from Sidorak. It's mystical, magical, and otherworldly. He's not biologically strong, he's mythically empowered. So casting a normal, real-world big guy, no matter how impressive that physique is, fundamentally misunderstands the character. That's why almost every live-action Juggernaut has failed, except one. The Deadpool 2 Juggernaut was CGI driven, and that by far worked best. His proportions were impossible. His head was too small, his arms were too big, his movement felt like a force, not a person. And he immediately picks up Deadpool and completely rips him in half. And that's exactly what Juggernaut is supposed to feel like. And that's why it's so disappointing to not see that version return later, because reverting to realism just collapses that illusion again. Another character that also has a big problem with this issue is Venom. Eddie Brock is a huge dude, but Venom is not just a tall, muscular man. Venom is exaggerated anatomy, predatory proportions, a full-on monster, which is why this conversion matters. Because if you don't understand the visual language, you can't adapt the character correctly. And this is where someone like Ritchson comes in, because people look at him and go, that's the biggest guy. And there's a reason for that. But there's actually a whole separate video coming where we break all that down properly. Why some physiques read as comic accurate and others don't. And why sometimes too big is actually the point. So keep a lookout for that video. The point of all this is simple. Hollywood keeps mistaking physical realism for comic accuracy. And comics have always known better. Some characters are not meant to look like people at any scale. They're meant to look impossible. And once you start seeing that, you can't unsee it. And I think that's about enough Longbox for today. Thanks for joining me. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you. Hit that like and subscribe for more. These Longbox sections are the casual part of my channel and have been here since day one. If there are any 90s comics or early 2000s that you might like to see, feel free to mention them in the comments. I most likely have them and would love to share and talk about them. I'm Dave Lance, and this has been the Symbiote Signal, decoding the MCU through patterns and logic. I'll see you in the next one. They asked me, oh, so is She-Hulk the Savage Dragon of the MCU? So wrong.